What's going on, guys? TheAireaidLord is here. This is my first review vlog for The Walking Dead Season 9. This is the format we're going to be doing it in, as I should have mentioned in my update for the reaction videos. I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably wondering right now, where are the reaction videos for Season 9? Because I never officially announced that I wasn't doing them. Yeah, I never announced it. I was going to put the video up earlier, but I had some emergency circumstances in my personal life that I had to attend to, so I wasn't able... I filmed the video. It's on my computer right now. I just didn't have time to upload it. And the episode, the premiere's already passed. I've already watched it, so I figured that I don't want to keep delaying this vlog. I wanted to make it last night, but I didn't have time to. Again, this is just the nature of how things go for me these days. So I'm going to make the review now. I'm just going to talk about it. There's going to be no video. You're just going to see, you know, the Rick Grimes poster right there. As he'll accompany us for the future vlogs that I make about this show. So yeah, A New Beginning is the title of this episode. And... you know, it really did live up to its... I think it lived up to the name of the episode more than anything because it feels like it's a new show. I like the directing, how certain parts feel fast-paced and other parts are a bit slower. Now, one thing... there were a couple of things for this episode. Obviously, spoiler alert. I'll put that in the description. So, if you haven't seen the premiere for Season 9, obviously avoid most of this video because I'm going to be talking about things that happen in it in order to review it. Some of what happens in this episode, so it's an overview of civilization, okay? You get... actually, the Hilltop's the main location you get in terms of communities. You see... I don't even think you see Alexandria. Well, no, you... okay. Back up there. The first few shots, you get perspective on how civilization's doing. You got crops, you got a few windmill turbines, the sanctuary's growing its own food, even though it's kind of unstable. Daryl is in charge of things at the sanctuary, which is really ironic considering he was a prisoner mopping piss off the floor when Negan was in charge, and now he's literally ordering some of these saviors around that once bowed to Negan. So you got that going on. He clearly doesn't like it. Daryl is just, he's not happy with having to lead the sanctuary. And then you got other characters that have more of a central role. You got Sydney, who's now like a mainstay part of the group. Anne, and Rick actually calls her by her name when they're in the archives. He's like, oh, thanks, Anne, for the tip. So obviously, Morgan must have told them, or no, she must have come back and just said her name. So yeah, there's not really like an overarching kind of... this is basically the check-in episode. Like, how is everyone doing after a year and a half, 2 years? And I'd say the main events of this episode, they go to Washington, D.C., which is really cool because they've been in D.C., the Washington area, since episode 12 of season 5. So it's been 3-4 seasons in the Virginia area, and they've never used D.C. as a location. They could have had parts of All Out War be in D.C. That could have been really cool to see them fighting on the steps of the Capitol building or some weird, crazy shit like that. I know that really wasn't in the comics, but I don't know. You could have done something cool like that. But they go to the Capitol building here. Well, no, not the Capitol building. They go to the Smithsonian, the archives, and they're basically scavenging for old tools that are historical items, but because civilization has regressed because of the apocalypse, these items are of immense value. So we're talking plows. They get a horse-drawn wagon, which is the main point of contention, because they're trying to get this giant horse-drawn carriage down the stairs, and there's a glass flooring, and it obviously breaks and shatters because of years of wear and tear. Ezekiel falls through, almost gets bitten, and that kind of makes his life flashes before his eyes. He's grown a relationship with Carol, which is nice, because, I mean, when was the last time Carol had a romantic interest in this show? There have been times during the show where sometimes her and Daryl have locked eyes, but for the most part, it seems like that's just a friendship. They even have a conversation in this episode where he finds out that Ezekiel proposes to Carol, and he's really happy for her, and so, again, these are two characters that have been around since the first season, so it's nice to see them catching up and just checking in how things are going with each other. Speaking of which, I don't want to forget this before we move further, but Daryl has a lot of dialogue in this episode, and they even joked about this on The Talking Dead. Chris Hardwick was like, yeah, past couple of years, Daryl's just been grunting. Now it seems like he has dialogue, and this is something the fans have joked about. Whatever they have yelled about or complained about previous episodes, they've always said, oh, I don't want to watch this episode for Daryl to just grunt 100 times and explosions and whatever. Daryl has some meaningful dialogue in this show, or in this episode, sorry. It remains to be seen if they continue. It seems like they're going to continue down this path because, especially if they're kicking Andrew Lincoln off the show, and that was the original rumor, right? That Andrew Lincoln was leaving, and that Daryl Dixon was going to be the new main star. Norman Reedus shot down that theory that Daryl was going to be the new main character, but in some ways he will be because he's the last male character from that original group. It's only going to be Carol and Daryl. That's it. And then Morgan, whatever the heck they do with him in Fear the Walking Dead, but that's that separate entity, so I'm not even counting that at this point. So Daryl has some dialogue. He talks to Rick about the economic situation of the Saviors, the fact that no food grows there because it's a factory. And he brings up a good point. It's a point that makes logical sense, because Negan couldn't grow any food there except for things that were internal inside the factory, like the potato chips they had mentioned when Eugene asked for them. Most of the time, they were scavenging all of their stuff. That's why they had the kingdom, the hilltop. They had them pay up resources. So that's why they were the Saviors, because they were the muscle keeping the zombies away, and all of the communities would pay up to them. Like a dictatorship, a tyranny of sorts. And that's what we've had for the past couple of seasons. And the Savior system doesn't seem to work without that economic continuity, because food just doesn't seem to grow. They're using the corn as corn oil to fuel some of the vehicles, although they don't really have vehicles in this. I'd say Daryl's about the only one. He rides his motorcycle, which is a different motorcycle than he had previous. It's a slimmer, it's a smaller, slimmer model. Most people in this show are riding horses. This really does feel like medieval times kind of living. It's funny because in previous seasons, even the all-out war, they were driving cars, to and from, the chase scene between Rick and Negan. I mean, cars were used a lot for the first 8 seasons, and now it doesn't seem like they're being used at all, except for Daryl on his motorcycle. And that's from corn oil, vegetable oil. I mean, I don't know how efficient that oil is. I mean, maybe people who use vegetable oil who are trying to be trying to be environmentally sound might have more information on that subject. But it's interesting that these little details that make the world, they included them in this episode. And hey, Judith is talking. That was pretty cool. I wanted to see a grown-up Judith, an older Judith that had human interaction more than just gurgling a bunch of words and staring off into the distance and playing with baby toys. I wanted a Judith that was more engaged. If they do a bigger time jump, which was a theory I talked about earlier that some people on the Spoiling Dead have already kind of leaked, that there's a 5-year time jump. I mean, how old is Judith then? Is she going to be a teenager? So then you're going to have her dealing with deeper things than just drawing pictures of her family, which is nice. She draws a picture of Carl, and she's drawing a picture of Rick, making fun of him and stuff like that and whatnot. So, no mention of Carl in this episode. Rick and Michonne have an intimate scene where they're just kind of talking about things, and they don't bring up Carl at all. He's not forgotten, obviously. Michonne has a piece of the shirt that got that got sliced by the walker bite. She has a piece of it on her bandana, which is cool, but no mention of him other than Judith's drawing, which shows that she hasn't forgotten about her brother, which is nice. I'm trying to think about other things that happened this episode. Negan was not in this episode. There was a red shirt death, and what I mean by that is a character that's introduced in the episode and killed in the episode all at once. This guy, Ken, eager survivor, seems like they just found this guy. I don't know if he was from one of the communities or they just found him. He tries to save a couple of horses when the wagon gets stuck in mud, and then he gets bitten by a walker. They try to cut off his arm, but the amputation goes all wrong. He bleeds out. You get immediate repercussions because his family is pissed off about this. And they're at the hilltop. And, oh, well, I guess I just answered my own question. Because, yeah, I was wondering. I was like, what community is he from? Oh, his parents are from the hilltop. That answers my question. There we go. So Gregory uses this to his advantage. Apparently there was an election and Maggie got voted in, which is no surprise because she kind of took over leadership way back when people figured out that Gregory was a coward. And then I guess they had an authentic election and he still lost. He thought the results were bullshit. So very quickly he spins this plot where he uses the anger of the father of this kid and he intentionally gets him drunk to then murder Maggie in a stealth assassination way. I mean, this is like something out of Halloween. I mean, this guy, his face isn't shown. He's got the hoodie up. Maggie, like, it's so obvious. Like, the thing is, they don't spend many episodes dealing with this. There aren't 4 episodes where you build up to this over a period of time. This is kind of just a one-and-done deal. Gregory, they're at night. Gregory's like, hey, I saw some people defiling Glenn's grave. You might want to check that out. Maggie's with baby Herschel. The assailant tries to kill her. Enid gets involved, and Enid gets knocked out and put in a wheelchair somehow. And then they stop the assailant, realizes it's the drunk kid's father, and then Maggie immediately realizes that Gregory set it up. And originally Gregory's like, no, I didn't have anything to do with it. And then he full-on pulls a knife on her, and then that's it. And then to show that there's consequences, they hang Gregory. Now, this is exactly how it happens in the comic book. If you're talking comic book scenes that are classic comic book scenes that... And the funny thing is, I said to my friend, I was like, you know, Gregory... When I saw Gregory on the show, I was like, I know his time is... His days are limited. He's gonna die this season. I just don't know what episode. Because I'm so used to the Scott Gimple approach. Like, you set up the character, you spend 3 episodes with their devious plan that's brewing, and then by the finale, they're gonna launch their plan, and maybe they die, or you save it for the next season. No, all in one episode, Gregory's plan. And the people that he uses are introduced in this episode. Like, obviously, we've known Gregory's been an asshole since season 6, but you literally have Gregory, and then you have these people. He sets up the plan, says, Maggie, oh, over there. And then he goes in, denies it, and then tries to pull a knife, and it doesn't work. So that was just like, that's the fast-pacedness. So you have some slow-paced stuff with talking about civilization, Rick visiting the sanctuary in some of the communities. And then you have that really fast-paced death that they dealt with, because then they hang him at the end of the episode. And just like that, Gregory's gone. So... just really, really interesting that I thought they would do that in episode 2 or 3, but now it seems like the next plot point is this bridge. I guess this bridge has been destroyed, and they need this bridge to connect the communities. And so they're going to have the Saviors work on it, and in exchange, the Hilltop is going to supply food because the Sanctuary can't grow food. So the Hilltop's going to give them food, as long as they provide most of the men and resources towards fixing this bridge. Obviously, by some of the preview clips that we've seen, Henry gets knocked over. He still has the Morgan stick, and he clocks somebody. So from the scenes, it looks like there's some big altercation on this bridge, and there's a lot. All of the preview clips show this. There's the guy that Carol's holding a gun, and Daryl punches one of them. So the rebellious saviors obviously are not going along with this. Regina's still alive. I had no idea about this. I saw the preview clip a few days before I saw the episode, and she's alive. The woman that Rosita shot with an assault rifle, is alive. And I didn't think that, because she was like the last of Negan's like top lieutenants. Because both Simon and Gavin were killed. Dwight's MIA, just off with Sherry somewhere. Just no idea if he'll even come back. And then Regina's just walking around checking on Crop. So Regina and Laura, and then I forget the guy. I don't know. I think it's a new character. It's this African-American guy who shakes Rick's hands. And he's like, bless you, Rick Grimes. Thanks for help. And I think he's like one of the more logical saviors. He's like, okay, we did horrible things to many communities. We're kind of getting let off the hook because Rick is so merciful. Let's show and repay that mercy by owning up our side of the bargain and shaking his hand and going along with things. So at least it's that guy's approach. And then they all clap for Rick, and that's when Daryl's like, oh, Negan would stand up here and intimidate people. And so they went through the factions of society. I mean, they didn't spend too much time on it. They didn't spend too much time on it, but you got the information that you needed to get in the time that they had. They didn't even go to the Kingdom. They didn't go to the Kingdom. I don't think they went to Alexandria either. So Kingdom and Alexandria were left out of this episode, and they had the Hilltop and the Sanctuary as the main hubs that they wanted to explore. And then you had members of the group from all the other different communities, like Sydney from the ocean side, and obviously Ezekiel. So even though you weren't at the Kingdom, some of the members from these other communities were there. In the end, Carol decides to take over things at the Sanctuary for Daryl because he hates it, which is going to be really interesting considering Carol never even visited the Sanctuary, knew nothing about it. It was really interesting seeing Ezekiel and Carol inside the Sanctuary because it's like, they would not have been here under any other circumstances. Carol has never met Negan before, and that's actually something... Actually, I want to see that. I forget who it was, if it was Angela Kang or Robert Kirkman, said that Negan would have interactions in prison with characters he doesn't normally talk to. There was a promo clip where Michonne gives him some food, and he's like, stay behind and talk, or I'm not going to eat it and starve myself. So, I mean, Michonne and Negan have talked before. She read him Carl's letter on the walkie-talkie. Like, they've had interactions. She was in the lineup in the woods when Glenn and Abraham got killed. So, I mean, Carol has never face-to-face met Negan before. I mean, at the end of Season 8, she was in the field when he was announcing over the intercom that he was going to blow them all away. But other than that, she's never face-to-face saw this guy because she was injured at the Kingdom when Negan came to terrorize Alexandria. And then by the time she went back to Alexandria, the war had started. And everyone was splintered off into their own places. So, you know, Carol is a ruthless badass. And I'd just be interested to see what Negan has to say. Because he respects people that are strong. So he'd be like, oh, wow. Like, look at this woman, an older woman that's got that's like literally Rambo. And if he knew all the things that she did, like, holy shit. Like... So I've been looking for that interaction for 2 seasons now, ever since Negan was introduced. We've never had a Carol Negan introduction. Maybe now that he's imprisoned at the Sanctuary, Alexandria will have it. I have to think in the 2-year time jump that they've had, they must have spoken at least once, but we'll see. We'll see. I hope different characters speak to Negan. Obviously, if Eugene speaks to Negan, Negan's going to be like, you're a traitor. There's obviously a conversation that Rick has with Negan from one of the promo clips. So far, Rick and Michonne are the only characters we know for a fact have conversations with Negan. And we'll see moving forward, because if Rick's fucking thrown off the show, who's going to have the majority of the conversations? Looks like it's going to be Michonne, because in the comics, it's Carl who has a lot of conversations with Negan, but we all know why that's impossible. So yeah, guys, good episode. I'll give it a solid 9. I know that seems like a little high, but I like the pace of it. I didn't feel like I was getting too bored. I was kind of intrigued because, again, Angela Kang, this is her first episode. And if you ignore the fact that Andrew Lincoln is leaving in episode 5, if he's still in this episode. Like, at no point in this episode did I feel like they were setting something up where Rick was going to die or something, or his days were numbered. It felt like he was going to be in the show for like 4 more seasons. The way he was acting and operating, it seemed like he was the leader of this splintered off Mesopotamian kind of cultural branch of communities. and he's at the top, and then you got Ezekiel for the kingdom, and Maggie for the hilltop, and maybe Sydney for the ocean side, and either Carol or Daryl for the sanctuary until they can get their own leader. So that's what it feels like, really. And so I don't know how they're going to transition, because right now the plot is just this infighting. It's the saviors who aren't happy with the arrangement, and Maggie who's not happy that the saviors are even still functioning, and she's not happy that Negan's alive, and she's trying to deal with being a leader. And so there's so many question marks. I'm almost intrigued. At this point, I'm almost intrigued about where they go based on all these questions. Because I guess Maggie's going to be leaving for a few episodes because Lauren Cohan has another show she's doing. I guess she's coming back later, but for now she's taking a hiatus, and same with, Rick's gone. But I don't know how they're going to pull this off. I know that there's a couple of flashback characters that'll be happening in the episode Rick leaves. Shane, Sasha, and Herschel. Pretty significant because the actor who played Herschel, Scott Wilson, actually just passed away recently. Condolences to the family. Great actor. Never met him. Actually, no, that's a lie. I saw him. I didn't meet him, but I saw him with my eyes at Walker Stalker Con Boston. And I have footage. I don't have footage of... Actually, no, I might. Actually, you guys can... I can probably put the playlist in the description of this video, because I'm downstairs walking around where all the actors are signing autographs, and I kind of like, hey, there's this actor, there's this actor. So I might have got footage of me seeing Scott Wilson from afar. I never shook his hand or anything, but I did see him from afar. The only actors I met at that event were Carrie Payton, who plays Ezekiel, Seth Gallium, who plays Father Gabriel, and then I forget her name, Sydney Park, who plays Sydney from the Ocean Side. And she didn't even have a line. It was just kind of you go up and take a picture, shake her hand. It was actually my brother who got the picture. She's pretty good looking in person, I guess. So, well, whatever. Anyway, so that's my review of the episode for the premiere. So I say this in the video. I say this in the video where I talk about my stance on reaction videos. I will do a reaction for the episode that Rick leaves. I have decided, because it's going to probably be a big thing that people are going to react to. This is the guy that's led this show, led the charge since 2010, 8 years, and now he's exiting. And it's going to be a big moment in TV history. Not many shows go on this long with quality, with this many fans, with the viewers that they get. I know the TV ratings have slipped a little bit, but they still produce good ratings regardless. So there's a lot of things going into this. So with all that being said, I will do a reaction episode 5, which is most likely probably at this point 99% confirmed, because Greg Nicotero is directing it. Scott Gimble's writing it. So there's a lot going into this thing, and I'm going to be like, it's going to be such a terrible episode to watch. It's probably going to be a good episode. That's the thing. It's probably going to be a good episode from a directing and an emotional standpoint, considering Andrew Lincoln always brings his A-game when he plays his character. And since this is his final appearance as Rick, he's going to be throwing the kitchen sink at this performance. I know it's going to be a good one. And I'm going to be reacting to it, but I'm going to be happy, but I'm going to be sad. I'm going to be like, but I will still do review videos for the show, just no reaction videos. I'll do reviews like this. I talk about the show, I do predictions, kind of like the vlogs I do regularly when the show's not airing, the spring-summer period where the show is on its hiatus. I do these vlogs anyway to give you guys predictions, but now they're a consistent thing after the episode finishes on Sunday nights. So, with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I gave this a 9 out of 10. Let me know if you agree with me. I know some people might say it was slow or Gregory died too quickly. I personally disagree with both. But you guys are willing to, put your comments below. Sorry I couldn't get this. I want to get this Sunday night. But just, again, various circumstances prevented that from happening. Again, I'm very busy. And the vlog that I'm going to put out probably Wednesday or Thursday, finally kind of getting my stance on reaction videos, will probably give you guys, it'll give you guys a clearer picture of where I stand with things, and just kind of how busy things got for me. It's, you know, it's life. I was in college and school for the majority of the time I was doing my YouTube channel, and now that I'm on a different phase of my life, it's much, much, much harder to keep things going. But I like interacting with my fans who are Patriot fans, who are Walking Dead fans, and those are the two big things going for my channel. I'm trying to replace my gameplay capture device whenever I have time. I'm playing Spider-Man right now, and I absolutely love the game. And there are so many times I'm playing the game, I'm like, man, I wish I could be recording this, but right now my Elgato cable just doesn't work. It's a 6-year-old device that's just, it's fucking on its last heels. It's not the device. The cord is just a piece of shit. It's been bent and skewered just over the years that I've been moving it in transportation. So anyway, not to get into that. I'll see you guys later for more videos. Thank you for watching. Peace out.